Concern as police report a rise in domestic violence reports. The BHTA hints at what it is hoping to see in Monday's budget. A damaged flow fibre optic cable knocks scores off the net. And in sports, Barbados Women fall to hand Jamaica the 2024 Women's Super 50 title.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC NewsNight, starting now.
Good evening, I'm Pearson Bowie. The Barbados Police Service is seeing an increase in the number of domestic violence reports. This was one of the stats that emerged from the start of its two-day annual Grand Conference underway at the Lloyd Erskine Sandiford Centre. We get more now from Rianne Phillips.
In his wide-ranging report, Police Commissioner Richard Boyce provided stats to illustrate the hike in domestic violence reports over the past year.
In 2023, there were 572 reported cases of domestic violence recorded as compared to 471 cases recorded in 2022, a 21% increase. The most prevalent acts of domestic violence fell into the categories of assaults and woundings, which translate into 55% of the total number of domestic violence cases.
And this is what he had to say on crime in general.
In terms of major crimes, we were able to achieve a 2% reduction in this category, while in the area of minor crimes, the organization registered a 9% increase. Of note was the reduction of murders in 2023 when compared to 2022. There were 21 murders committed in 2023, as against 43, which were committed in 2022. Minor crimes in 2023 stood at 5,403, while in 2022, that figure stood at 4,765. The proliferation of firearms in 2023 remained a concern for us. We were able to confiscate 84 of these firearms in 2023, as compared to 143 in 2022.
The conference, which has attracted over 120 delegates, is being held under the theme Unity and Safety, partnering with our stakeholders to safeguard our communities. And Commissioner Boyce elaborated on efforts to maintain peace within districts.
One such intervention resulted in the staging of police caravans in some communities in the Bridgetown and Southern Division, thus allowing residents in those areas to have access to police services in a more timely and efficient manner. This intervention resulted in a significant level of greater reassurance in the police service, and most importantly, to reduce the fear of becoming victims of crime.
But the Commissioner stresses manpower shortages are a main constraint.
We have continued to push our recruitment drive to get more police officers into the organization. We have seen some positive results in this endeavor over the past year, but not in the numbers that will make us comfortable. We are still 268 officers short.
The conference is expected to continue tomorrow at the LESC. Rianne Phillips, CBC News.
Efforts by a fifth form student to intervene in an apparent case of bullying were met with the student sustaining a serious head injury. A release from the Ministry of Education says he was initially treated at a nearby polyclinic, but subsequent complications led to him being taken to the hospital by ambulance, where he is still being monitored. That incident happened off campus yesterday at approximately 2 p.m. in Six Roads area, sometime after students were dismissed early owing to the negative impact of smoke emanating from a nearby location. The police, the principal and other school administrators went to the scene where 2 male students were identified as the attackers, and while the Ministry of Education, Technological and Vocational Training awaits further updates on the condition of the young student, it joins the nation in appealing for an end to the pockets of violence rearing its head among the school population. The ministry will also provide the space for the principal, the board of management and the police service to continue its investigations and make the appropriate decision with regard to the fate of the 2 male students. Classes at that school resumed today. Well, the Barbados Union of Teachers wants the school and parents to come together to work on a solution to the violence in schools. General Secretary Herbert Gittins told CBC News the reality is that children are exposed to violence from many quarters.
The BHTA continues to condemn any acts of violence in our schools by the nation's school children. The union advises students to find better and softer solutions to resolve matters of discontent. Acts of retaliation which involves violence creates further issues and challenges for everyone. School is a microcosm of society, and our students are fed with a daily dose of violence on social media and other sources. They are exposed to what is happening here in Barbados, in the region, and even beyond. The union is calling on the school, the home, and that is parents, to work closely together to come up with solutions to these issues.
The Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association is hoping next Monday's budget will foster greater investment into the sector. The desire was shared by Chief Executive Officer Ryan Ford during an interview with CBC News.
Obviously, we want to kind of see opportunity for the creation of avenues of new investment and reinvestment to influence development within the sector, whether that might be through channels for education and training, whether that is refurbishment, whether that is new development of new product, whatever it might be. Those are the kind of areas that we're looking at. Obviously, streamlining the tax system in terms of the processes that are needed to obviously submit and to receive back. And then also expanding the business eligibility for the Tourism Development Act and the process to streamline the concessions and whatnot.
Mr. Ford is also hopeful investment will be made into data analysis to ensure investments are being directed to the right areas.
So that way we're able to see when you're coming through the port of entries, for example, you're able to see the kind of clientele that you're getting, where are they coming from, what's the age demographic, what kind of business or sport, etc. they're from. Once you have that information, you're able to adjust the direction that you're investing marketing dollars, either as a destination or as a private sector entity. So once we start to look at that, then we know, okay, we don't have the rivers or the mega volcanoes or whatever other persons may travel for in terms of those kind of nature aspects. But people want interesting restaurants. We're a culinary destination. Or persons want to go down into the various caves that we have.
Businessman Neville Ro has passed away. The former Julienne and Sky Mall supermarket owner, who had been ailing for some time, died today. Close friend and former operations manager at the Julienne supermarket, Peter Chase, remembers Ro as a gentle and kind man who was the ultimate perfectionist. Ro was in his 70s. Debate in the House of Assembly continued today on the estimates. Wendy Burt joins us now with a report. Wendy.
Pearson, health was in focus today with the Ministry of Health and Wellness as it commits to the provision of care for cancer patients moving to acquire a new linear accelerator. Such devices are most commonly used for external beam radiation treatments. Minister Dr. Jerome Walcott says a linear accelerator, though expensive, is something Barbados needs desperately and will acquire this year.
So you're speaking about almost $9 million. Maybe in Barbados dollars. And I know that already the QH has received some substantial funding as it relates to the acquisition of this linear accelerator. So the process now is going through the ordering process and obviously outfitting the area where it will be placed. There are matters along its course with training. Our physicists, I think they've had some exposure to linear accelerator during their training, but obviously they will need some refresher, stuff like that.
Colombia has proven to be a cheaper option for Barbados as cancer patients are sent there for treatment. Director of Financial Services at the QEH, Adrian Hurley, revealed 15 patients to date were sent to Bogota for radiotherapy.
We have allocated about $265,000 coming out of the health levy, like the minister said, towards the treatment of those patients. What we are doing is we're using those funds as a stopgap to treat those patients as we transition for that period where we transition from the cobalt machine disassembly and decommissioning and the reinstallation of the and the installation and commissioning of the linear accelerator.
Deputy Prime Minister Santia Bradshaw urged health officials to place greater attention on patient education and support. While sharing her experience after her cancer diagnosis, Ms. Bradshaw says patients are scared to be diagnosed.
Being able to arm people with the information that allows them to manage their condition, because just because you have a diagnosis does not mean you're going to die. And I think that that needs to be the messaging that certainly is coming from the healthcare providers so that people understand how to cope. Now, yes, we have the other support services, but I do feel that whether it is internal or whether we are advocating for more people to be able to offer those services of support, perhaps the budget of the ministry needs to start to look at that more. I am on record as saying a large part of my recovery didn't just have to do with, I think, my positive approach to the condition, but it had to do with the people who supported me.
Leader of the opposition, Ralph Thorne, as he raised his concerns over the decision to appoint a CEO of the QEH, stated that young Barbadians and West Indians are being excluded from occupying high offices.
If you say that only 2 Barbadians applied, are you admitting that Barbadians do not feel inclined to apply because they feel that the position will not be made available to them? Minister, beg your pardon, Your Honor, to the minister through you, it is not only the Queen Elizabeth Hospital that is now afflicted with this cultural problem.
Amid concerns over the selection process for a new chief executive officer for the QEH, the Minister of Health is assuring the process was open. The Most Honourable Dr. Jerome Walcott made it clear that he did not interfere in the selection process. He was at the time responding to opposition leader Ralph Thorne, who raised his concerns.
I have had no role in it. The board met. They had their selection committee as members of the board. My PS was on the board. I believe the General Secretary of the NUPW was a member of the selection committee. They advertised, 84 people applied. I made the point, and it wasn't any publication, I made the point then, this was 2 days ago in the other place, that 84 people applied for this post. 2 were Barbadian. I was concerned about that. That's why I said it.
Pearson, that's it from Parliament today.
Wendy, thank you. In other news tonight, scores of households in St. Joseph are still without internet service following a damaged cable on Saturday. Telecoms company Flow says work crew have been dispatched to St. Joseph to restore connectivity to upset customers. The area of Bathsheba was impacted after a construction vehicle snagged and downed the line on Saturday. Crews were sent to rectify that issue, and service was restored to some households. However, communications manager Alan Harris told CBC News the damage was much more significant than initially realized. There are about 300 subscribers affected in that area. Meanwhile, over in St. John, in the area of Foster Hall, residents were reporting to CBC News they were without service for close to 2 weeks. Harris says the loss of service to that area resulted from damage to a cable at Glen Burnie, where an animal chewed the fiber. Crew respliced the cable, and the residents and service resumed yesterday. The inaugural Small Island Developing States Global Children and Youth Action Summit has been launched, and one regional prime minister has described it as a commitment to the empowerment of the region and the world's youth. Wendy Burt tells us that Antigua's Prime Minister Gaston Brown and UN representatives are committed to the process.
UNICEF's representative for the Eastern Caribbean, Peter Bolt, is thrilled that the summit has started as he spoke at its recent media launch. He believes the May 24th to 26th event in Antigua, which has many partners on board, will be an excellent forerunner to the main SIDS4 conference.
We are truly breaking new ground here, as this summit will be the first of its kind, a landmark opportunity to bring young people together from across the 3 SIDS regions, to unify their voice, allowing it to resonate on a global platform. And hearing that voice and acting on what we hear has become critical to the future of our children and young people, a future which many feel is increasingly precarious.
Ashley Lashley, who's had a major role in the planning, believes the summit plays a pivotal role in shaping the future.
You've heard the theme from Peter, small island, big dreams, youth for SIDS resilience. And it really speaks to our resilience in the face of adversity, our determination to overcome challenges, and our unwavering belief in the power of collective action.
The United Nations Population Fund's representative in the Caribbean, Elizabeth Talbert, also sees the SIDS Global Children and Youth Summit as key.
Our efforts with partners such as the Government of Barbados, the Government of Antigua and Barbuda, which will host the SIDS conference, the Ashley Lashley Foundation, UNICEF and others, exemplifies the shared values and goals we hold there. A commitment to the well-being and empowerment of adolescents and youth everywhere. I urge all of you to join us in supporting this summit. Your contribution can make a difference in the lives of countless children, adolescents, and youth worldwide.
And for Prime Minister of Antigua, Gaston Brown, who will host the summit, it's an opportunity for hope and collaboration to show how the youth can effect real change. Mr. Brown sees it as a commitment to the empowerment of youth everywhere.
We expect active engagement, innovative ideas, and bold initiatives from our young leaders. Your voices matter, and they will shape the outcomes of this summit. Together, we will address the unique challenges facing our small island developing states and chart a course towards a more sustainable and resilient future.
Regional news now. The University of the West Indies, despite being tested by the recent COVID-19, says the world of higher education has become extremely competitive since the pandemic. According to UWI Vice-Chancellor Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, universities are competing more aggressively than ever, likening it to an almost cutthroat situation for a diminishing number of students. He says the capacity of a university to survive today is based on how effective it will be in building out global partnerships and collaborations. Sir Hilary's comments came during the annual meeting of the Council of the St. Augustine campus.
Those are the relationships that will bring home the bacon to your institution. And I will come now to a comment about the strategic plan. I have to commend the principal. I have to commend her team for creating almost a perfect alliance between the campus strategy, the operational plans of the campuses, and the university's strategic plan. I wish to commend the St. Augustine community for embracing fully the university's strategic plan.
Sports Night is brought to you by Power In. Pause is power. And by Dasani. Live first, Dasani after.
Time for tonight's sporting action as we're joined by Anne-Marie Burke. Anne-Marie, good evening to you.
Good evening to you, Pearson, and we will start with news of cricket. Jamaica were officially crowned champions of the 2024 CG United Women's Super 50 Cup competition today, despite losing to Ghana women by 5 wickets in the 5th and final round. Jamaica, who played unbeaten coming into today's fixture with 24 points, saw their closest rival Barbados with 14 points lose to the Windward Islands by 44 runs. Playing at the St. Paul's Sports Complex, Jamaica were dismissed for just 72 off 27.1 overs, and Ghana knocked off the runs in 17.4 overs under the DLS method. Meanwhile, at the Connery Sports Club, the Waywers brushed aside defending champions Barbados by 44 runs. Winning the toss and batting, the Windward women scored 233 for 9 off their 50 overs, led by Affie Fletcher with 72. Shamilia Connell took 4 for 38. In reply, Barbados lost wickets at regular intervals and were held to 189 for 9 off their 50 overs. Captain Kaisi Knight with 64 and Aliyah Allen and unbeaten 49 were the only bright sparks.
The Business Report is brought to you with the kind compliments of the National Insurance and Social Security Service. More than a contribution, it's your lifeline.
In business tonight, Prime Minister Mia Amor Motley is encouraging local business people to effectively utilize assets in a country which is land scarce. Speaking at the official opening of the Hayman's Market in St. Peter, she told those gathered that they were in a place which first opened over 300 years ago as a sugar factory, but Bernie Weatherhead, the chairman of Sun Group, has repurposed it for locals and tourists.
We are a small country. I wish we had more land, believe you me, but we have a lot of ocean. But the land that we have can be better and more effectively utilized and repurposed to allow us to meet the times in which we live more effectively. And there can be no better example than taking an asset that was first opened 350 years ago this year. This factory, the records show, goes back to 1674. And with respect to its name, goes back to 1695, with respect to John Hayman, who took possession of it.
Barbados and CARICOM has told a high-level meeting the linkages between improved access to financing for development and the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals cannot and should not be ignored. The 68th session of the Commission on the Status of Women heard from Minister of People Empowerment and Elder Affairs Kirk Humphrey that the eradication of poverty is central to reducing women's vulnerability to climate change and other adversities. He says programs and policies must focus on building the capacity of women and girls in a holistic manner.
Climate finance for both adaptation and mitigation efforts must be responsive to differentiated gender needs and the empowerment of women, including by supporting women-owned micro, small and medium-sized enterprises in the green and blue economies. CARICOM therefore also looks forward to the 4th Conference of Small Island Developing States being held in Antigua and Barbuda on the 27th to 30th of May 2024 with the theme Charting the Course Toward Resilient Prosperity, which is expected to deliver significant outcomes crucial for the long-term development of small island developing states.
The Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association is providing essential training for over 100 tourism business members. In 2023, the association provided training opportunities for team members from over 100 of its member organizations and expects to exceed that number in 2024. Chief Executive Officer Ryan Ford explained that providing education, training and development opportunities for BHTA members is an extremely important role of the association. As expected, Anne-Marie Burke is back with even more sporting action. Anne-Marie.
I promise you some good news in surfing. Hundreds of surfers from around the world will compete at this year's World Surf League Live Like Xander Junior Pro and also in the Barbados Surf Pro QS 5000, which is expected to be a major economic driver for the island. CBC's Anmar Goodrich-Boyce tells us more.
With $10,000 and 5,000 points up for grabs, 246 surfers from around the world are set to touch down in Barbados next week for the highly anticipated World Surf League, Live Like Xander Junior Pro, and the Barbados Surf Pro. Speaking during a media conference this morning, co-founder Luis Vinicius says this year's event, which is presented by Diamonds International and Surf Promotions Barbados Limited in conjunction with the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc., is expected to be major.
This is the second consecutive year the event will be hosted as a 5,000. The event has the highest rating on the QS level and is the largest surfing event ever held in the Caribbean region. The WSL consists of 7 regions, and Barbados is included in the North America region. The top 10 ranked surfers from each region will be eligible to compete in the Challenger Series, which is the last stepping stone for the opportunity to reach the ultimate goal and qualify for the World Tour.
Vanicia also says the main objective of the event is to promote Barbados as a sports tourism destination, increase the volume of international visitors to the island, and promote professional surfing events.
Traveling along with the competitors will be friends, family, spectators, and media personnel, and that will increase the number of visitors to Barbados to roughly 500 to 600 people, spending approximately 7 to 10 days on the island. These visitors will help boost the product through house, hotel and car rentals and patronizing supermarkets, restaurants, souvenir shops, and the like. In 2013, our event attracted 456 hotel room, Airbnb, and beach house rentals, and 115 car rentals. These arrivals amounted to 5,838 audited nights spent on the island. According to that data, the estimated return on investment for 2023 was a whopping $1.1 million injected into the Barbados economy. This tourism impact reflected through this event is an undeniable benefit to the economy of Barbados.
BTMI Sports Manager Kamal Springer welcomes the opportunity to showcase Barbados to more tourists, and he's encouraging more entities to come on board.
It is incredibly important for private entities to work with these events to make sure they build out the assets and make sure high quality events that we can show across the world to encourage people to come to Barbados more and more for sports. It's very important for our sports business strategy to make sure we partner with these massive entities like the World Surf League and to make sure that the events are world class so that we get more people coming for spectatorship, more athletes wanting to come to the destination.
The 7-day event will take place at the world-renowned Soup Bowl Beach in Bathsheba, St. Joseph from March 18th to 24th. Anmar Goodrich-Boyce, CBC Sports.
The Barbados Association of Dragsters and Drifters revved off their 2024 season with the Drag Rivals Round 1 event at the Bushy Park Racetrack recently. 5 persons are currently tied for the champion driver title after this first event, while Ramel Allen, with a time of 7.77 seconds in the 1/8 mile, set a new front-wheel drive record. Let's take in some of the action. There was nothing short of action galore as BAD got their 2024 season off to a flying start. And the spectators are out in their numbers, taking in the speed on the track as Drag Rivals Round 1 lived up to expectation. The 9.5 to 10 second class saw Shaquille Jama in his Honda Civic leave his closest rival Ramon Harper in the dust to conquer that division. Third was actually Ryan Rock. Moving up a class to the 9 to 9.5 second class, it was Jayton Roach who was fastest, just edging out Andrew Barker. Well, in the big boys, in his signature yellow BMW, Sammy Cumberbatch was best of those in the 6 to 7.5 second class, beating Corey Hines and Steve King. The bikes and ATVs are also in the mix in the champion rider event, where Sheridan Mohammed with 128 points beat out Fabian Reeves 106 and Shane Alves with 87 points. The next major event is a quarter-mile acceleration test at Bourbon St. Lucie on Easter Bank Holiday, April the 1st. Anne-Marie Burke, CBC Sports.
And that's our time tonight. Thank you for spending it with us. I'm Pearson Bowen for the crew. To all of you, good night. By God's will, we'll see you tomorrow.